Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Joseph KARP is our final guest, and he's probably the biggest star of all. And he's been doing this with us for many, many years, and we'll tell you some special things that he thinks are very important, and then we'll tell you about the seminars that he has coming up. So let's just get to talking to Joe right now. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I was just thinking about, when you listen to the news and you watch what's happening with that terrible hurricane, it's pretty, we're so glad we didn't get it, but it reminded me of Andrew.
Yeah, sure did. And I will segue right from the hurricane to estate planning and long-term care planning, because here's what we know. The people in the Panhandle knew eternally there was always a chance of a storm, okay? And the people here know there's even more frequently a chance of a storm because we've been hit more and more frequently. Yet there are some people who, in anticipation of that possibility, and in fact in Southeast Florida, that probability, or in Southeast Florida, realistically, the inevitability of a storm, there are those who prepare. They have batteries, they have food, they have flashlights, they have generators, they have exit strategies to leave the area, they have their papers that are important and financial records sealed up, ready to go, or protected from windstorm or weather storm. Whatever it is, there are those who say, this is inevitable, and say a place like the Panhandle, they say this is a possibility, and there are those who plan. And when you're sitting in South Florida, merely because we didn't have a storm this year, first of all, we aren't through with the season yet, but people should be planning for that realistic possibility, and in my case, I believe, the inevitability of a hurricane and a torrential storm hitting here, and you have to have your game plan. In my office, everybody has information as to what to do if there's a storm. And we're in a good, secure building, but we have tarps to cover every piece of furniture and every computer, and they're sitting in a warehouse in case we need them. So we plan for that inevitability. Yet we will see people running to Home Depot on the morning of the storm is going to be here tomorrow, this afternoon, and they're running to Home Depot getting boards and trying to fight for batteries. And remember going, Toys R Us would be clear of batteries. Children's toys couldn't be running. People were going all over and getting stuff. And here's the answer, the analogy. If you know it's going to come, do preparation in advance. None of us knows when we're going to have sickness, illness, incapacity, or death. Sometimes you do. I mean, if you're in hospice and you know you got a week left to live, then you know. But for the most part, many of the things that strike people somewhat suddenly, and or they are not prepared to deal with it. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, and they're so busy chasing the illness that they don't take care of their affairs. And the answer is, we're in South Florida, and everybody in the world faces a storm. It's inevitable. Timing is the only issue. When is it going to hit? And people who plan are so much better off. People who are prepared, their families are prepared. One of my employees was devastated because her family's up in the Panhandle, and she knew they took no preparation for the storm. Their houses were totally devastated, and nobody knew where they were because they were last minute running out, even though they had been given a couple of days' notice that this thing is coming, and they knew their housing was vulnerable. We're all vulnerable. So when we talk about what to do, there's no time like the present to get your affairs in order. And you know what? If my house, we have 8 cases of water, we have batteries, we have everything, and I'm not sitting around bemoaning the fact that I did all this preparation for naught. Oh, I'm so sorry I was prepared. I'll never do that again. No, next year I'm still prepared because the season isn't over. So getting prepared for something that is inevitable is important, and people got to understand it, and it's got to register. The pep talk is here. Don't do it when it's too late because you won't be able to do it.
I want to jump in here because I want to tell you something that's personal, not to me, but one of our associates. She had a sister who had cancer, was not doing well, and she went up to New York to take care of her. They knew that she wasn't going to, make it. And she begged her sister to, even though her sister is very smart, she's a teacher, to do a trust. And her sister kept putting it off. And the point of this is that she knew that she should have done it, but my associate said she couldn't face the fact that she was going to die, so she kept putting it off. How do you handle that, Joe? Because now, she's in New York. You can imagine she did die. And my associate now is having a terrible time with probate. It's going to take, you can imagine how long. She's got to sell the apartment. She can't do anything till all this is taken care of. So the main thing is she wasn't smart, and it wasn't that my associate didn't tell her that she needed to do it. She was just inside. She didn't want to do it because it meant her death.
The answer is that's the reality. I tell people, if you don't do it, it's still going to happen, and the way things are going to be handled are going to be much more cumbersome for your loved ones. They don't, even if you haven't done anything, then there's who's in charge, who takes over, what's going to happen. I try to tell them, and my clients who do estate planning, I have to tell them that make sure the people you've done the plan, that you've left responsible, know who's in charge. That's number one. So, I'll say to somebody who'll come in and they'll talk about their own estate plan, then they'll mention their mom or dad or both. And they'll say, well, there's me, my brother, and my sister. And I'll say, well, have your parents done any estate planning? And it doesn't matter if the parents are in Pennsylvania. I'm not going to get their business. It's just trying to facilitate and help a client. And they say, yeah, they said they took care of everything with their lawyer. I said, well, who's going to make their medical decisions if they can't? I said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, your parents owe you that much information. Maybe your mother wants her sister and none of her 3 children. You should know and whoever's got that should know, so they know who's going to handle it. And they should have the paperwork on at least getting the ability to make medical decisions. Who's going to handle the estate plan? And I try to tell my clients, first of all, let people know who's getting the job. And many of my clients, and I understand it, and I'm not going to condemn this at all, don't want their family to know how much they have or how little they have. I understand it. I wish people could have greater confidence in the people that they allegedly trust to take care of things. And remember, you might be incapacitated, but at least let them know where you've got your information. Put it in an organized fashion and say, look, Bob is in charge if we become incapacitated. The papers are in the drawer here or in the file cabinet or in the safe deposit box, and this is where the box is, and this is who can access the box. And the information on my financial stuff that I don't want you to know about now, how much I have and where I have it, can be located here so that you know what to do. And leave a trail. Just by the way, even with healthcare, you know what the big thing is that people never tell even when they do that? Who knows what medications you're taking? That's the first question they always ask in the emergency room.
Right.
What medication is this person on? I bet 90% of your listeners right now who have even told their loved ones who's in charge. The kids don't know their medications. And they
You're right.
don't know. And it's basic. It's 101 planning. And that doesn't mean you want to get sick. And know what's funny? The lady who didn't do any of her estate plan,
Yes.
the only reason she had car insurance was mandatory.
True.
Because she didn't want to deal with the possibility of a crash either, right?
Yep, that's true.
And most of us, though, are pretty smart. And know what's interesting? And when some of the statistics decline and the likelihood declines, we're far more inclined to do it, right? I would bet most of your listeners who have no mortgage, they don't have to have homeowners insurance anymore, right? Because the lender doesn't care if the house burns down.
Right.
There's no lender.
Right.
Right? The lender.
Yep.
The only reason you have to have it is the lender. The other reason you have to have it is in case the house burns down, so you have somebody to pay to replace your house. Statistically, the number of houses that burn down is infinitesimal. The number of people that die so far, we're in the 100% range as far as I know.
Yep.
So it's just an interesting thing that people can't wrap their hands around the inevitability. Nobody wants it to happen, but just that's the problem, and people pay the consequences of poor planning by leaving a miserable legacy for the loved ones who have to clean it up. And by the way, you don't have to be rich to do this. In fact, the less you have, the more problematic it becomes, because it gets complicated. It doesn't matter if you have a couple of accounts and a $12,000 mobile home or a $30,000 condo. If people don't know what's going on, don't know where you bank, broker, credit cards, checking accounts, debts, they're going to spend a greater proportion of your assets figuring it out. Because you got to figure it out before you can do anything about it, right? Oh, I have no idea where my mother banks or brokers. I don't know. Forget about what she has. So all of a sudden you find out there's a modest amount of money, and then we turn those cases down because we know those people are going to hate our guts. We got to do all the digging and finding, et cetera, and then it costs them thousands of dollars to find out that there are thousands of dollars, and the bulk of it goes to the expense of doing the digging instead of people having taken the preparation to leave it. So we said, we don't want those. Sorry, we can't help you. And they said, why not? We said, well, because the work involved, you're just going to hate our guts and say the lawyers took all of Mom's money.
You know,
So
Joe, this is, I'm so glad we're doing this, but I do want to jump in here and tell everybody about your seminar, because right now, of course, we have a radio show and you're talking about this, but in a half an hour, you can't possibly talk about what you do in almost 3 hours. So let's talk about the free, and it is free, the Senior Survival Workshop. That's why they call it Senior Survival Workshop. You will hear all about things that we're talking about in the radio. So let me tell you how to do this. Get your pencil out and mark this down. Tuesday, October
November. We've already done October. That was last week.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you did. That's true.
I have the dates. You want me to give the dates?
Yeah, we need your dates.
Okay, I came prepared. Okay, our next and our last workshops of the year, although your blurb about me on the radio says every month, it's no longer every month. We're going to be cutting them down because they're very, very intensive for us. Tuesday, November 13, in Palm Beach Gardens at the PGA Marriott Hotel, that's off PGA Boulevard, we will be doing our Senior Survival Workshop Tuesday, November 13 at 1:30, and it goes till about 4. Wednesday, November 14 at 1:30 in Boynton Beach at the Courtyard by Marriott. That's on Congress between Gateway and Boynton Beach Boulevard. And Thursday, November 15 at 1:30 again till about 4 at Port St. Lucie at the Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn, just north of Port St. Lucie Boulevard on Federal Highway. On our website, we have that information as well as how to get there. And our website is www.karplaw, KARPLAW.com. And
Thank
our
you for that.
toll-free
Yeah,
number
thank
is
you.
there too.
It's so important that they attend your seminars because, as I started saying, this is it's 30 minutes, and it can't possibly do enough. But what you did today, hopefully people are listening. And I just have to say this from a personal, I deal with Joe KARP. He has been our lawyer for our elder, all the trusts, everything, my family. But I was just thinking about some of the things you said. I don't think I have a list of all my credit cards and what I should do. I have a list of the bank accounts for my family, but you just brought up some very important information. So what it will do is everything should be in a ledger. Everything, everywhere, every company that you're dealing with that your family's going to have to go after. But a lot of people don't do that.
No, and by the way, just as an aside, because we know that people don't do that. And if you say, Joe, well, what would have happened if I had died yesterday or I got sick yesterday and I became incapacitated and my successor had to take over on my behalf? How would he or she known about my debts? Do you know what we've done? We have arranged with a credit company. It took me a year to get them to agree that we can do a credit check on behalf of somebody who becomes either dies or becomes disabled. So we get all of their credit information. So we see so we pay for that. Our clients pay for it when they hire us to do it. That's a service, but this way we know all your credit cards. We know all of what you've got, what your debts are, as long as they are, public record type things. And by public record, I mean you don't owe your neighbor $1,000. That's not going to show up on your credit check. And it's interesting the stuff we find, because you have listeners right now who have probably signed guarantees on their daughter's car loan because their daughter's credit is messed up. Well, that shows up, so we know what's out there.
That's
so
great, Joe. We never talked about this. Excellent.
There's things we do. People, and we think we go above and beyond what people do. We think about things. I'm a pain in the neck in my office because I'm always thinking about what situations do we face and how can we help our clients facilitate that, and how can we help the person who comes in and says, have no idea what's going on with my mother's stuff. And we say, well, hopefully she's done a tax return. And many of my clients' parents have not earned enough money to do tax returns in the last couple of years. But we do what we can and know where to grab and look. But doing something as simple as a credit check really facilitates it. So if whoever's taking over has a handle on what's going on. These are important things, but the more you can prepare, we give our clients a binder in which they can list information and stuff. The one client that I had, I wished I could grab him and hug him after he died. His family came in with the book with the information we tell people they should fill out. And in his book, and we tell people to contact, places to list, he did on where he had worked, who to call in HR about his pension with notes. This is the best person to talk to. He is the smartest and knows the stuff. Here is his direct line. If he is not available, this is the second best person.
Amazing,
Joe. A lot of the people don't know this stuff. And I got to tell you, if any of you have ever been on the other end of making one of those calls, you know how frustrating it is. He left them a roadmap that was so brilliant and so good. And it didn't take him a hell of a lot of time.
Well, wait a minute, Joe. I have that book. I have the book, and I have not filled it out. This show this morning is the best thing for me, because when I go home, I'm going to get that book out, and then start filling in a lot of the information.
Yeah, who knows what about your business?
Right.
Who knows who to contact about that? And some of the people in your business know some of the things. Not everybody knows everything, and some of the stuff only you know. But maybe who's the banker? Who's the this? Who to call? I mean, with all sorts of things. Who to call for the radio station if Anita's not coming in on Saturday morning? I would bet nobody knows who the hell to call.
No, but people do, but people don't. You're right. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but not
if
total.
The person
right.
If the person you left in charge got a call yesterday, Mom's in the emergency room. She's not going to be, or whomever you think. Nita's in the emergency room. She's not going to be able to do. She'll be okay probably, but right now she's under sedation. We've got her drugs. She doesn't know up from down. She's going to be here for a couple of days.
It's a perfect scenario. Absolutely.
Would your loved one know who to call to say, call the radio station? Anita isn't coming in at 5:00 in the morning. Does that person know that?
But wait, I have something else. How many people live alone, have a dog or a cat? And and that's very important information.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, as we've discussed in the past, some of my clients don't have somebody appropriate or that they can rely upon to be their successor trustee and even health care. And I am named. And amongst the things that when I am named, they have an emergency number to reach me, and it's legit. They only call for an emergency. The issues are what animals, what pets, who's the vet, what meds does the pet take, what rituals have to be followed with the pet.
Amazing.
I have to have a key to your house. What's the alarm code, and is my name at the gate that I can get in at any time? And do you have a dog walker or any of that stuff? And we've had those calls, and I need to know. I had a client who had birds and actually had the big parrots. And as a result of the parrots, and he was not attentive to his own needs, he had all that parrot dust that ended up making him collapse and go into the emergency room. And his parrots were very, very needy, and he had about 12 lovebirds as well. And I had the key. I had to run out there. My wife, who's the help, because she found a vet that could find somebody who helped us take care of the birds, because the guy lived out in western West Palm Beach, and we couldn't be there all of the time. And we found a responsible bird carer who came in twice a day to feed and attend to the birds so that they would be sustained. And that was important to him. He knew his pets were being taken care of.
This is quite a conversation. In all the years that I think we've been talking, we never really went over this, but this is really the guts of it, really. Oh, my gosh, Joe. So let's get down to business. So let's get people to make an appointment with you, because you can see what kind of a lawyer this is. This is not the casual lawyer that sits at his computer. He really cares a lot. So let me give you his phone number, please. Write this down. It's Pencil Talk Radio, and it's 1-800-893-9911. Let's do that again. 1-800-893-9911. Please do make that phone call. If you don't have everything tied up tight and you think that what you have, even if you think you've done it right, go make an appointment and have a consult with the KARP law firm.
That's what I was going to say. They don't have to see me. Everybody I work with, there's 5 of us. Everybody in my law firm has been mentored by me. I'm seeing less and less people. That's the privileges of having set it up. And I'm spending more time mentoring my lawyers. But my lawyers have been with me. Some of them have been, Adele's with me 13 years. So I have lawyers who've been mentored me but trained by me, and we have the same philosophy. If you look at our business cards, it doesn't say attorney at law. It says counselors at law. We are in the counseling business. So the kinds of information we give our clients, like making sure your loved ones have your medication list if they're going to be involved, making sure they know that. Doing documents is nothing. It's very important, but it's just the tip of the iceberg.
It really
you got
is.
to do the things you got to do to get your affairs in order. And doing documents and throwing them in an envelope and being secretive. And that's why we tell our clients to come back every 3 years, because we don't charge for that meeting unless they change something or want something, because we know that sometimes when they've done their estate planning documents, they think they've done enough. And no, they've just done the beginning.
And Joe,
Now
we've
gotta
just
make
done
sure you implement
we've
it.
done enough, and they're shutting us down. So thank you. This has been a great show. Appreciate you so much, and just keep doing all the good work you do.
Go
Thank
back
you.
and fill in the book today.
Okay, I'm going
Take care.
to. Bye.
Bye-bye.